RaWMachines here. In a world flooded with technology, many old industries are slowly being forgotten. However, in Oregon, a living witness to history is still operating every day. That is the Hull Oaks Lumber Company, America's largest and last steam-powered sawmill. It's both a living museum and a place where giant logs up to 85 feet long are tamed by the power of steam, a capability modern sawmills no longer possess. But before we tour the mill, let's begin our story in the pristine forests of the Pacific Northwest, where colossal trees stretch to blanket the sky. Douglas fir, hemlock, and cedar are the dominant species here. Their massive trunks were wide enough to build ships, bridges, or even an entire town. Of course, with such immense size, harvesting them was never easy.
Oh yeah.
This work demands strength, experience, and an absolute respect for nature. Loggers must be able to read the tree's lean, feel its weight, and sense the direction of the wind. A single small mistake could threaten not only their lives, but also the tranquility of the forest. Once the tree is down, it's time for the yarder, a marvelous human-made machine, to get to work. With its tall crane and sturdy steel cables, it guides each massive log up steep slopes, weaving through the canopies to find its way to the sunlight. Finally, the logs are piled up at the landing, forming mountains of timber. The silence of the forest is now replaced by the roar of Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks. These aren't just ordinary vehicles, they are legends of the logging industry, designed to conquer the harshest terrain with the heaviest loads. Once the iron chains are tightly secured and the cargo is thoroughly inspected, a new journey begins. The road ahead is winding, muddy, steep, and treacherous. The giant trucks roar as they climb the inclines, hauling a weight of over 80,000 pounds. Drivers have to grip the wheel and race against the clock, because just a moment of carelessness, danger can strike at any time. Today's special haul is Douglas fir, the ideal tree for producing the long beams and heavy lumber that are Hull Oaks' specialty. Unlike most modern mills, Hull Oaks was built to handle these oversized logs, making it the last bastion of heavy timber milling. And there it is. The Hull Oaks Mill is finally coming into view. For over 90 years, countless convoys have passed through here, carrying the bounty of the mountains. Inside those gates, the pulse of the steam-powered sawmill still echoes, waiting to turn rough logs into structures that will stand the test of time. After their difficult journey, the logs don't go straight to the sawmill. They have to undergo a special ritual, a long soak in the log pond. Before us is a vast man-made pond. It's not for recreation, but a giant waiting room, where hundreds of massive logs are stacked and float idly on the water's surface. Why soak the logs? Because once a towering tree is cut down, it begins a silent battle against time. The sap dries, and the wood starts to crack and warp. For Hull Oaks, that's an unacceptable waste. The log pond is the perfect solution. The water keeps the grain soft and slows the drying process, ensuring the saw blades can pass through smoothly and accurately.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Looking out at the shimmering pond, we see workers with a curious name, pond monkeys. The name may sound funny, but it's a long-standing cultural tradition in the American logging industry. It originated from the sight of old-time loggers nimbly hopping across the floating logs, as agile as monkeys in the forest. Today, for safety, they use motorboats, but the skill and bravery of that tradition remain. Pond monkeys typically work from a small craft called a pond boat, armed with a long pole tipped with an iron hook. With this tool, they push, pull, and maneuver the colossal logs. The job might seem simple, but it demands absolute focus. They must read the water's flow, predict where the logs will roll, and act before they become jammed. A single wrong move could cause a log jam, or even threaten their lives. That's why experience is their most valuable asset. A skilled logger knows how to control the entire pond using only water, weight, and momentum, achieving maximum effect with minimal effort. The work of a pond monkey is defined by 3 key tasks. First, they sort and guide the logs by species, size, and priority, moving them toward the hoist. Second, they use their boat or hook to untangle and free up the flow when logs get stuck. And third, they keep the entire pond operating safely, making sure the logs move steadily without creating jams or endangering other workers. For them, this is more than just a job. It's a transgenerational art, a blend of craftsmanship and a deep understanding of nature. While modern technology can replace many tasks, at Hull Oaks, this tradition is preserved as a tribute to those silent workers. They are not merely pond keepers, but the very soul of the log pond, a special highlight of the entire production process.
I don't get what he's doing right now.
I think he's trying to open up space to move that.
And so, as a pond monkey skillfully guides a log toward the hoist, its journey takes a new turn. The stillness of the pond gives way to the roar of machinery. The next stop is the debarking shed, where the rough exterior is peeled away to reveal the pristine wood inside. Stripping the bark was once a haunting stage for lumberjacks. Before machinery, they had to use axes and knives to scrape off the bark, a slow and dangerous process. It wasn't until the early 20th century that the advent of mechanical debarkers truly changed the game, reducing manual labor and paving the way for a huge leap in productivity. Hull Oaks was an early adopter of this technology in 1937, which allowed it to handle the massive logs of the American Northwest. As each log is fed inside, the machine operates at an astonishing speed. Steel blades spin rapidly, biting deep into the rough bark and tearing it into thick strips. The sound echoes throughout the mill. The bark isn't just a rough outer layer, it's also the wood's final protection against forest impurities, dirt, gravel, and grime. If these materials get inside, they'll dull the saw blades, ruin perfect cuts, and disrupt the entire production process. Once the bark is peeled away, the log's true form is revealed. A pale, naked trunk with knots and imperfections gradually exposed. This gives the sawyers the clearest view to make optimal cutting decisions. At a place that specializes in oversized beams and special cuts like Hull oaks, understanding the personality of each log from the very beginning is crucial. The bark, wood chips, and other scraps here aren't simply discarded. They are considered a valuable resource. Sometimes they become mulch to nourish the soil. Other times they're turned into fuel for the steam boiler, powering the entire mill's non-stop operation. A closed loop, a testament to the thrift and efficiency of the traditional lumber industry. Closed loop, a testament to the thrift and efficiency of the traditional lumber industry. After being debarked, the log continues on the conveyor belt to the next stage, cross-cutting. Here, a large saw slices the log into shorter sections, a strategic preparatory step to fit the standard size for the Headrig and lumber trucks. This is not the final product stage, but rather a crucial strategic preparation step. Inside the spacious mill, the carriage emerges like a giant beast. It runs on rails, rocking back and forth, securely gripping the log with sturdy iron posts before pushing it straight into the screaming saw blade. Of course, the machine couldn't operate without the sawyer. They are the soul of this process. With their sharp eyes and decades of experience, the sawyer reads the wood, examining the grain, knots, and twists to visualize its inner structure. Right then, a crucial decision is made. The first cut, known as the face cut, is the key to unlocking the largest, finest boards. One good choice can yield a flawless beam. One wrong move, and tons of timber could be reduced to waste. The sound of a lever pull echoes as the carriage pushes the trunk into the saw blade. The more than 50-foot long steel band begins to glide continuously over giant wheels. Unlike older circular saws, the bandsaw wastes less wood. Each cut peels off a rough slab, revealing the straight wood grain inside. This slab is then transferred for chipping or as fuel. The carriage retracts, the log is rotated, and the process is repeated. Like this, the log is squared up and gradually becomes smaller. After the first cuts, the massive log is transformed into squared-off blocks, known as cants, before rolling down to the bandsaw line. There, the enormous blade runs ceaselessly, slicing each cant into boards of uniform thickness. After every cut, the chain system pulls the cant back into place, then drives it forward again, until the entire block is broken down into streams of lumber that drop onto the transfer chain. But that's only half the journey. The boards then pass through a resaw to be split into smaller pieces, followed by an edger to trim away the rough, uneven sides. Finally, a trimmer cuts out cracks and unwanted knots, leaving each board straight, clean, and true to the specifications of the design. Once the steel dust has settled, the planks move to the cleaning station. Rotating brushes and steel blades gently glide over them, sweeping away any stray fibers and leaving a smooth, polished surface. This may seem like a minor step, but it shows the mill's dedication to precision and thoroughness in every detail. Finally, skilled workers move into the grading phase. With their calloused hands, they flip each plank, touch every grain, and even listen for the sound it makes when tapped lightly, to determine what is first-class lumber and what is standard grade. Only products that meet these strict standards are kept, ensuring that Hull Oaks' reputation for quality remains steadfast over time. Not every log at Hull Oaks is sawed into planks. Some massive Douglas fir trunks, up to 85 feet long, are kept intact to become oversized beams or bridge decking. They become a valuable resource for railroads, shipbuilding, and even the restoration of historic wooden bridges. Instead of going through the edger or trimmer, these giants are taken directly to a specialized circular saw station. Here, a thick and powerful steel blade squares them up and flattens them, creating precise timber blocks. Now comes the most difficult part, moving them. Weighing tens of thousands of pounds, they are impossible to move by hand or conveyor belt. This is where the overhead crane gets to work. It runs on a long rail system that spans the entire mill, lowers a steel cable, hooks onto the timber, and lifts it high into the air. In that moment, you see just how wonderful the combination of human and machine truly is. A job that once required the strength of a dozen men is now completed easily and quickly with a single pull of a lever. It's more than just a technological advancement. It's a story of human perseverance and ingenuity in the journey to harness nature to serve life. Hidden within the mill is a quiet but no less important space, the filing room. This is the mill's silent heart, a place where massive saw blades are cared for and restored after a day of grueling work. Step inside the filing room and you'll immediately feel the different atmosphere. Gone is the deafening roar of the steam engine, replaced by the steady rasping sound of metal on metal, like the sound of the wind. The smell of fresh sap gives way to the scent of hot steel, mingling with the rich aroma of machine oil. The light from old yellow bulbs reflects off the straight-standing blades, which look like giant steel moons. A nearly 50-foot-long blade, only a few millimeters thick, must run hundreds of times a day through solid timber blocks. If it hits a small piece of rock, a hidden nail, or a crack in the trunk, it can be chipped, bent, or even torn apart. If not properly filed and tensioned, the blade can wobble, cut crookedly, or even break and fly off, endangering the entire workshop. That's why keeping the blade sharp, straight, and balanced is of the utmost importance. The sharpening process begins with a specialized grinding machine, where each tooth is sharpened to perfection. Then, a milling machine adjusts the cutting angle, the depth of the gullet, the curve between the teeth, and ensures absolute uniformity across the entire saw band. Thanks to this precision, each tooth bites into the wood with the same force, preventing the planks from becoming uneven or flawed. But sharpening is only part of the job. The blade also has to be tensioned and aligned. When the blade spins at high speed, internal stress can cause it to warp or wobble. Using specialized hammers and anvils, the craftsman adjusts the steel, creating the perfect balance that allows the blade to run precisely. The work is both a science and an art, and one that takes years of experience to master. Once the blade has been restored, the process of replacing the new blade begins. The massive headrig stops operating, and the steel wheels fall silent. Workers coordinate to remove the old blade, roll it up neatly, and then slide the new blade, gleaming after hours of sharpening, into place. They tension it evenly around the wheels, adjust every detail, and then finally turn on the machine. The new blade screams to life, biting into the log with newly reborn power and precision. The filing room lacks the spectacular sight of a log carriage or a crane hoisting a beam, but it is the mill's nerve center. From one generation to the next, the trade of saw filing has endured, from the time of manual grinding under the light of oil lamps to today, with electric grinding tools. While technology has changed, the principle remains timeless. A sharp blade is essential for protecting the mill's productivity, safety, and reputation. Each tooth that's sharpened is a promise. The next cut will be straight, the next plank will be smooth, and the legacy of Oregon's craftsmanship will be upheld. In the quiet, amidst the gleam of steel and the smell of oil, the saw filers are the guardians of that legacy. Without them, the thunder of the entire mill would fall silent. After all the complex stages, the finished lumber products are stacked neatly. They are ready for their new journey, destined for construction sites, furniture workshops, and factories all across America. Every piece of lumber that leaves Hull Oaks carries a story. It's a story of the power of giant machines and the resilient spirit of the mill workers. So, when you see a beam, a table, or the frame of a house, remember that it's not just wood. It's a piece of history that continues to exist today. Thank you for joining us in this wondrous story of the Hull Oaks Lumber Company, a place where centuries-old skills and traditions are still preserved and passed down through generations. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next captivating tale. This is Moshrush signing off. Until we meet again.